In the heart of Silicon Valley, where glass-walled offices scrape the sky and innovation flows like coffee, a story unfolded that would shake social media to its core. It started like many modern controversies do, with a single post, a brilliant piece of art, and a CEO who thought he could rewrite the rules of attribution. On a crisp autumn morning, the internet woke up to a stunning piece of digital artwork plastered across TechStream's new marketing campaign. The vibrant colors and distinctive style immediately caught everyone's attention. A mesmerizing blend of Afrofuturism and contemporary tech aesthetics. The artwork featured a powerful vision of the future, with holograms dancing through city streets and diverse faces illuminated by neon lights. It was beautiful, it was compelling, and as social media users quickly discovered, it wasn't TechStream's to use. Behind this remarkable piece was a self-taught artist from Atlanta who had spent years perfecting his craft in a small studio apartment, sharing his work through social media. His distinct style had earned him a devoted following of 50,000 fans who immediately recognized his work in TechStream's campaign. The problem? He'd never given permission for its use. The story might have ended there, another tale of corporate appropriation in the digital age. But what happened next would leave millions of viewers, followers, and industry insiders stunned. The TechStream CEO, known for his polished presentations and carefully curated image, decided to address the brewing controversy personally. In a video that would soon go viral for all the wrong reasons, he claimed the artwork was created through collaborative AI efforts and that no attribution was necessary. What he didn't expect was the artist's meticulous documentation of his creative process. For every piece in his collection, including the one TechStream had used, he had recorded time-lapse videos of his work, from the first digital brush stroke to the final touches. As these videos began circulating online, the CEO's claims crumbled spectacularly. But the real twist came when other tech industry leaders, including several prominent black executives, stepped forward. They shared their own experiences with attribution theft and began amplifying the artist's story. What started as one artist's fight for recognition suddenly transformed into a movement for creative rights in the digital age. The artist's response to the situation would prove to be a masterclass in grace under pressure. Instead of launching aggressive attacks, he used this moment to educate his growing audience about artists' rights in the digital age. His follower count wasn't just growing, it was exploding. From 50,000 to 500,000 in mere days, his story resonated with creators and art lovers worldwide. Meanwhile, in the TechStream offices, the CEO's inbox was flooding with messages from his own employees. The internal reaction to the controversy would soon spill into public view, forcing him to confront a reality very different from the narrative he tried to construct. His attempt to dismiss a black artist's work as AI-generated had inadvertently sparked a conversation about representation, recognition, and respect in the tech industry. As social media timelines filled with heated discussions and the story gained momentum, one question kept surfacing. How would the CEO respond to the mounting evidence and growing backlash? The answer to that question would not only determine his company's future, but would also set a precedent for how corporate America handles artistic attribution in the digital age. The stage was set for a showdown that would challenge assumptions about power, creativity, and accountability in the modern business world. But nobody could have predicted what would happen next. The story took an unexpected turn when a former TechStream employee stepped forward with screenshots of internal communications. These messages revealed that the company's design team had actually warned the CEO about the artwork's origins weeks before the campaign launched. They had explicitly identified the artist and recommended reaching out for proper licensing. But those warnings had been dismissed with a simple reply: nobody will notice. Proceed as planned. The leaked messages spread like wildfire across social media platforms. Tech journalists began digging deeper, uncovering a pattern of similar incidents at other companies where this CEO had previously worked. A disturbing picture emerged of a leadership style that consistently undermined and devalued creative contributions, particularly from minority artists. The artist, maintaining his composure, agreed to an exclusive interview with a respected tech podcast. He shared how he'd developed his unique style over a decade, drawing inspiration from his grandmother's quilting patterns and his childhood memories of reading science fiction comics. His genuine passion and authenticity resonated with listeners, making the CEO's dismissal of his work even more egregious. Meanwhile, TechStream's board of directors called an emergency meeting. The company's stock had taken a hit, and major clients were expressing concerns about their association with the brand. Several tech industry influencers had begun a campaign to boycott TechStream's products, and the hashtag credit the creator was trending nationwide. The plot thickened when a group of current TechStream employees organized a virtual walkout, changing their profile pictures to the artist's work and sharing stories of similar incidents they'd witnessed but had been afraid to report. The company's internal messaging channels buzzed with discussions about creative integrity and racial bias in the tech industry. As pressure mounted, the CEO attempted to control the narrative by scheduling a press conference. However, hours before he was set to speak, someone leaked an old email thread that showed him discussing ways to use AI to replicate minority artists' styles without having to deal with the creators directly. The timing couldn't have been worse. The artist's following continued to grow, now reaching over 1 million supporters. Art communities across the globe began sharing their own stories of corporate theft and discrimination, creating a powerful movement that extended far beyond this single incident. Major art institutions and tech companies started reaching out to the artist, offering collaborations and opportunities that would have been unimaginable just weeks before. Inside TechStream's headquarters, a quiet revolution was brewing. A coalition of employees from various departments had begun documenting other instances of creative theft and discrimination. They were building a comprehensive report that threatened to expose not just this single incident, but an entire culture of appropriation and disrespect. The CEO's position became increasingly precarious as more details emerged about his past decisions. Former colleagues from previous companies started coming forward with similar stories, painting a picture of a pattern that spanned years. The tech industry's usual code of silence was cracking, revealing uncomfortable truths about power dynamics and creative ownership in the digital age. As tensions reached a boiling point, the artist received an unexpected message from someone high within TechStream's corporate structure. The contents of this message would shake the very foundation of the company and challenge everything people thought they knew about the situation. But before the artist could decide how to respond, another player entered the scene. Someone whose identity and motives would completely transform the narrative. The mysterious message came from TechStream's chief creative officer, who had been mysteriously silent throughout the controversy. In a secure video call, she revealed that she had been quietly gathering evidence of similar incidents for the past 2 years. She had documented dozens of cases where diverse artists' work had been appropriated, not just at TechStream, but across multiple tech companies where the CEO had connections. The artist found himself at a crossroads. This information could completely expose the systemic issues plaguing the industry, but it also came with significant risks. The chief creative officer explained that several high-profile tech executives were implicated, and they would likely fight back hard to protect their reputations. She offered to be a whistleblower, but needed the artist's platform and credibility to make the revelation stick. As they deliberated, TechStream's PR team launched an aggressive campaign to discredit the growing movement. They released a series of statements suggesting that the artist had actually offered his work to them for free, producing doctored emails as evidence. But they had underestimated the digital literacy of the artist's supporters, who quickly identified inconsistencies in the metadata of these emails. The tension escalated when several major tech conferences withdrew their invitations to the CEO. Corporate sponsors began quietly distancing themselves from TechStream, and whispers of a potential leadership change reached the press. The CEO, feeling cornered, scheduled another press conference, this time promising irrefutable evidence that would vindicate his actions. The artist's followers grew increasingly concerned for his safety as anonymous threats started appearing in his social media messages. But rather than backing down, the creative community rallied around him. Famous artists and designers offered to collaborate with him, creating a powerful support network that transcended racial and cultural boundaries. 24 hours before the CEO's scheduled press conference, the chief creative officer shared something that changed everything. Security footage from TechStream's offices showing the CEO in a heated argument with the design team. The timestamp matched the day they had warned him about the artwork's origins. The video had no audio, but a skilled lip reader in the artist's community volunteered to decipher the conversation. The contents of that conversation would prove to be more damaging than anyone anticipated. But just as the artist and the chief creative officer prepared to release this evidence, they received an urgent message from an unexpected source, the CEO's former assistant, who had been silently watching the situation unfold. She claimed to have information that would not only expose this incident but would reveal a much larger conspiracy within the tech industry. The artist now faced a crucial decision. Should he release the security footage immediately, or wait to coordinate with the former assistant? The chief creative officer advised caution, but time was running out. The CEO's press conference was approaching, and once he presented his evidence, the narrative might become harder to control. As midnight approached on the eve of the press conference, the artist's phone lit up with a notification. The CEO had just posted a cryptic message on his personal social media. The truth is more complex than anyone realizes. Tomorrow, everything changes. The internet exploded with speculation, but few knew that in a secure video call, 3 people, the artist, the chief creative officer, and the former assistant, were about to make a decision that would send shockwaves through the entire tech industry. The secure video call took an unexpected turn when the former assistant revealed that the CEO's upcoming press conference wasn't just about defending his actions. He was planning to announce a new art generation platform that had been secretly trained on thousands of uncredited artists' work. TechStream had been quietly scraping artwork from social media platforms for months, building a massive database of diverse artistic styles without consent or compensation. The chief creative officer's face went pale as she pulled up confidential documents on her screen. The project, codenamed Artisanai, was scheduled to launch immediately after the press conference. The platform promised to democratize art creation, while actually exploiting the very communities it claimed to serve. The artist realized with growing horror that his own situation wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a test case for how the public would react to unauthorized use of artists' work. As they processed this revelation, something even more disturbing emerged. The former assistant shared screenshots of private investor meetings where the CEO had pitched Artisanai as a way to eliminate the need for hiring diverse artists, while still creating culturally authentic content. The platform was being positioned as a cost-cutting solution for companies wanting to appear inclusive without actually engaging with diverse creators. The internet was still buzzing about the CEO's cryptic social media post, unaware that in just a few hours, he planned to position himself as a visionary disrupting the art world. His PR team had already prepared a campaign painting any opposition as anti-innovation and resistant to progress. They had even recruited several prominent tech influencers to support the launch, promising them early access to the platform. The artist's phone buzzed continuously as concerned followers shared theories about the CEO's announcement. But the real story was far worse than any of them had imagined. The chief creative officer discovered that Artisanai had already been secretly tested by several major corporations, creating campaigns that appeared to celebrate diversity while actually erasing diverse creators from the process entirely. With less than 3 hours until the press conference, the 3 allies faced a critical decision. The former assistant had access to the Artisanai servers, but warned that exposing everything immediately might allow the CEO's tech team to delete crucial evidence. The chief creative officer suggested they needed more time to document everything properly, but the artist realized something they hadn't considered. His massive following could be mobilized to prevent the platform's launch in real time. As they debated their next move, a notification popped up on all their screens. The CEO had just posted again. Innovation means being brave enough to break old models. The future belongs to those who dare to disrupt. The post was quickly gaining traction, with tech media already writing speculative pieces about TechStream's potential announcement. In the background, the artist's supporters were organizing something unprecedented. artists worldwide had begun sharing watermarked versions of their work with a simple message: not your training data. The hashtag was spreading like wildfire, but would it be enough to counter what was coming? Just then, the former assistant's screen went black. When it came back online seconds later, a single message appeared: system breach detected. Server access terminated. Someone at TechStream had discovered their investigation. The clock was ticking, and they had just lost their inside access to the company's servers. With just 30 minutes until the press conference, the artist made a bold decision. He went live on his social media platform, not to expose the artisanal scandal, but to announce his own press conference, scheduled for exactly the same time as the CEO's. The art community rallied instantly, with major cultural institutions and tech journalists suddenly forced to choose which event to cover. The CEO's team scrambled to respond, but they weren't prepared for what happened next. The chief creative officer, despite losing server access, had already downloaded enough evidence. She coordinated with a network of ethical tech professionals who began a systematic sweep of TechStream's public-facing APIs. They discovered that artisanal had left digital fingerprints across the internet, traces of unauthorized art collection that couldn't be erased. As both press conferences began, screens across the world split between two very different narratives. The CEO stood at his podium, confidently beginning his rehearsed speech about innovation and the future of art. But with each point he made, the artist's live stream countered with real evidence. For every corporate buzzword, there was a real artist's story. For every promise of disruption, there was proof of exploitation. The turning point came when the former assistant, who had remained anonymous until now, walked into the CEO's press conference. She wasn't alone. Behind her stood dozens of TechStream employees, each holding tablets displaying the original artworks that artisanal had secretly copied. The CEO faltered mid-sentence as his own team began documenting everything on their phones, the narrative slipping completely out of his control. But the real surprise came from an unexpected source. The board of directors, watching both live streams simultaneously, made an unprecedented real-time decision. They interrupted the CEO's press conference with their own announcement. Effective immediately, they were shutting down the artisanal project and launching a full investigation into the company's practices. The artist's followers watched in amazement as the CEO's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Yet in this moment of victory, the artist did something unexpected. Instead of celebrating the CEO's downfall, he shared his screen to reveal a collaborative digital art platform he'd been developing, one that fairly compensated artists and protected their rights. He announced partnerships with several tech companies that had withdrawn from TechStream, creating a new model for ethical ad development in the creative space. As social media exploded with reactions, the chief creative officer revealed one final piece of evidence. The entire artisanal project had actually been proposed years ago by a team of diverse artists within TechStream, but with fair compensation and creator rights built in. The CEO had rejected it then, only to attempt stealing the concept later. Now, these original team members were being invited to lead the artist's new platform. The story seemed complete, but there was one last twist. As the CEO left the podium in defeat, the former assistant stepped forward one more time. She revealed that she wasn't just any assistant. She was the daughter of the CEO's former business partner, whose groundbreaking ethical AI research had been buried a decade ago. Her presence that day wasn't just about exposing the truth. It was about reclaiming her father's legacy and ensuring that technology would be used to empower, not exploit, creative communities. The world watched as a movement that began with one stolen artwork transformed into a revolution in how technology and creativity could coexist. The artist's platform became a blueprint for ethical innovation, proving that true progress doesn't require exploitation. It demands collaboration and respect. In the weeks that followed, the ripple effects of that dramatic day transformed the tech industry's approach to artistic collaboration. TechStream's board appointed the chief creative officer as interim CEO, making her the first black woman to lead a major tech corporation in Silicon Valley. Her first action was to establish an artist advisory board, ensuring that creators would have a direct voice in all future company decisions. The former assistant's revelation about her father's research led to the discovery of archived documents detailing ethical AI frameworks that were decades ahead of their time. These documents became the foundation for new industry standards, with major tech companies scrambling to adopt these long-ignored principles. Her father's name was posthumously added to the Tech Innovation Hall of Fame, finally receiving the recognition he deserved. The artist's collaborative platform flourished, growing into something far bigger than anyone had anticipated. It wasn't just a marketplace. It became a global community where technology and creativity truly complemented each other. Artists from remote villages in Africa could collaborate with designers in Tokyo, while AI tools assisted rather than replaced human creativity. The platform's success proved that ethical innovation could be incredibly profitable, challenging the notion that exploitation was necessary for business success. The story of TechStream's failed attempt to appropriate art became a case study in business schools worldwide. Corporate executives began reaching out to the artist, not to hire him, but to learn from him. He started conducting workshops on ethical innovation and cultural respect in the digital age, teaching the next generation of tech leaders how to build inclusive and respectful creative environments. The employees who stood up during the press conference formed a collective called Tech Ethics First, which began consulting with companies on implementing ethical AI practices. Their courage inspired a wave of similar movements across different industries, as workers realized their power to influence corporate decisions. Perhaps the most surprising development came 6 months later, when the former CEO, after much reflection, publicly apologized and began working with grassroots artists' organizations. He dedicated his time and resources to supporting independent creators, turning his experience into a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing profit over people. The chief creative officer's documentation of past incidents didn't go to waste. It became the basis for new legislation protecting artists' rights in the digital age. The laws, crafted with input from creators worldwide, set clear guidelines for AI art development while ensuring fair compensation for human artists. 1 year after the famous press conference, the artist hosted a global digital art festival. The event showcased works from creators who had been affected by corporate art theft, but had found their voice through the new platform. The festival's highlight was a collaborative piece combining traditional art forms with ethical AI assistance, demonstrating how technology could enhance rather than replace human creativity. The former assistant continued her father's legacy by establishing a foundation that provided grants to artists exploring ethical ways to integrate technology into their work. The foundation's first project was a series of workshops in underserved communities, teaching digital art skills while emphasizing the importance of creative rights. As views of this story continued to climb, it became clear that this wasn't just about one company's failed attempt to exploit an artist. It was about the power of community, the importance of ethical leadership, and the possibility of building a future where technology serves creativity rather than suppressing it. The art world and tech industry would never be the same, and that was exactly the point. Today, when people ask about the story that changed Silicon Valley's approach to art and AI, they don't just talk about the dramatic press conference or the exposed scandal. They talk about how a single act of resistance sparked a movement that reshaped the relationship between technology and creativity, proving that the most innovative solutions come from collaboration, not exploitation.